Hey Trade Pros, it's Victoria from TRADEPRO Academy, and today we will be talking about how you can get started with just $100 in day trading futures. Now, let's go ahead and start this presentation. Hope everyone's ready to find out how you can start in the futures market with as little as $100. Now, it is possible to start day trading futures with only $100 thanks to the micros. The micros with a good broker provides you the opportunity to get into that futures market with just $40 of margin in your account. So if you have $100, technically you can trade 2 contracts of the micros, needing only $80 of margin. However, we do recommend you get your feet wet with that one contract first, and that only requires $100 plus some cushion room. The idea behind starting to trade with $100 isn't to get rich, as a lot of gurus may promise you out there. Turn $100 into Lambos and thousands and tens of thousands. It's honestly to learn how the market works. This is a learning account. Now, instead of spending thousands of dollars as it once was learning how to trade the E-minis or whatever futures contract it was, now you can only do it with a few $100s in your account, as little as $100. The idea is, again, with this liquidity and movement, to learn how the futures market reacts and behaves before you start depositing more money and actually getting those income goals you want. So let's dive into this. Today we'll be talking about the futures contracts, brokers and platforms, risk management, and psychology, gain and loss. How a $100 account can improve all of these things and make you a better trader, especially at the beginning, or if you are struggling at a certain point in your trading career. With this small account, it really limits your loss, and it really cuts the loss of trading E-mini equity futures in a tenth of the size. So if you use the TPA recommended bracket, if we're going 5/8, 5 ticks of risk for 8 ticks of reward, you're risking about $6.25 per trade per one lot on the micros. Now, take that and you have a trading plan and set, and you're doing everything right, and you're giving yourself 5 trades a day. Let's say you lose them all. That's about a $25 loss compared to a $250 potential loss. What are you more comfortable taking at the beginning, a $25 loss or a $250 loss? Now, the same goes for making profits. At that time, you won't really grow your account exponentially and a lot, because an 8-tick winner is what, about $10 or so. But the idea isn't to grow it into hundreds of thousands. It's to really learn how markets move, increase the size, learn how to trade with multiple lots, and really get that down to pat. Because trading with a one lot at the beginning, especially if you're going into the E-minis, if you have a smaller account, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, just trading one lots to get to learning, first, you're risking a lot more than you could be. And second, the hardest thing you'll do when you trade is trade a one lot. It doesn't allow much flexibility, and with the micros, you have so much flexibility even if you trade 3 or 4 lots or even 2 lots, and learn how to trade that before you dive into the larger contracts. So if you're taking 5 points of risk a day, remember, you got to keep that risk to reward tight, and you should be aiming for 8 to 10 points of gain on the micros a day, $40 to $50 of gain if you're going to risk 25. That's only logical, and it's just a small amount of money. I understand that, but it could gradually grow, and once you become more confident with the micros, you could easily scale up to the minis once you really know how that market structure works. Now, some brokers like AMP require you to deposit $500 just to open the account. That doesn't mean you have to use the whole $500, but also means that you can start trading futures with as little as $500 in your account, especially the micros, and grow from there and really learn. It's a great broker with amazing commissions, and you pay under 75 cents per trade per one lot. That is about 37 cents per side on the one lot micro trade. So it really gives you a lot of flexibility and limits your costs. Of course, there are other costs such as the data and the platform, which are pretty small fees. And even with the $100 account, you can really start off and learn the markets well. If you're paying about $25 to $30 a month for the platform and $15 for the data, that's okay, because you're in the learning stage right now, even with a few $100 account. With this, even a $100 account makes trading futures very inexpensive. This is a godsend to the futures market, especially to retail traders, and you can really learn how to trade the futures market, the most liquid market in the world, with just $100 in your account. So now let's talk about risk management. Risk management is a huge portion. First and foremost, you're a risk manager before you are a profit taker. That is the whole point of trading with a $100 account. A few $100 in your account can really help you manage that risk and keep the losses small rather than just blowing chunks and just destroying accounts. You really limit your risk, set a plan, have that $100, and look for the opportunity that the market gives you rather than trying to make the millions. That's also one of the perks of the $100 account. Like we said before, the micros does allow you to trade multiple lots. Even with a $100 account, you could stretch it to 2 lots. You only need $80 of margin in that account to trade that with a little cushion room. And you could scale up as you grow confident and better as a trader. One vital mistake that new traders make is taking larger losses than winners. Sometimes they stretch their losing days, and when they have a green day, they really preserve that capital and really preserve that winning trade, that little green, even if it's only a few ticks or a point. So if you're taking a 4.5 point loss, let's say, don't settle for a 3-point win on the micros the next day. That doesn't really make sense. If you're maxing out your risk parameters, so 5 points, let's say, you should be getting 6+, 7+ points the next day to make up for some of those losses. Remember, with this small account, you're teaching yourself to take profits when you can and cut the losers short. That teaches you good risk management. Now, if the opportunity is there, step on it and keep going. If you get beat up, don't give yourself one more trade time after time. Just cut it loose. It's only $25 for those 5 points and call it a day. Look for something else or take a break, see if you could recenter or come back tomorrow. Review your plan, review your journal, and go from there. It really teaches you also to step on that opportunity when you see it. You are risking so little, and especially when volatility increases, you don't have to risk that much, and you could be getting a few point swings easily. So the micro really teaches you a lot of discipline and respect of managing more than one lot, cutting losers short, and really letting winners run if the opportunity is presented. All right, so this is a very, very important topic that I want to stress. So a lot of traders actually begin with large accounts because they have that capital capability. Now, this is a huge mistake, especially for beginning traders, because let's say you start with a $20,000 account. It's so easy to scale up to about 50 lots until they cut your position, cut you off, and you're maxing your margin. So let's say you lose one trade on a 1 lot. Next trade, you do 2 lots. You lose that trade. You do 3 lots, 4 lots, 5 lots. You guys see where I'm going with this. Just increase size to max out that margin because you know you have money in that account instead of managing risk. And what happens is often people blow out their accounts much faster than they do realize because they're not using their capital effectively. We always tell people, if people come to us and they say, hey, I've got $50,000 to put in my trading account, how about you start with 1,000, see what happens with that. Don't trade out of your scope. So at the beginning, you should be trading 1 lot and earn the right to be trading more lots. And that is what this $100 account really helps people with. So the power of starting with a small account is that when someone starts with a small account, they really learn the ins and outs of actually trading before they can scale up. And that makes them way better traders than someone who has the power to scale up right from the beginning. You have to earn the right, and that is what happens when you have the $100 account or a few $100 account. Once you become confident and better at actually trading, market structure, order flow, whatever it is, put more money into the account, scale into higher contracts, go up to the minis and grow from there. But start from the bottom. The micros are a great place for you to begin your journey with just $100 or a few $100 in that trading account. It gives you access to the futures market and it gives you the opportunity to learn. Now, again, if you're managing risk, then you should really keep that plan and keep to that risk management plan. So that doesn't mean you hit your 5-point loss for the day and you're like, what's a few more points when we trade in the micros, right? Well, you're not really going to get anywhere with that mentality because that's the same as having a $20,000 account and being like, hey, I'm down 5 points, big deal. On the minis, big deal. I've got a few more $1,000 in my account, right? So again, you got to teach yourself discipline, whether it's with the micros or not. Again, the micro just gives you the opportunity to dip your toes in the market with little risk. Even though you are risking a few dollars to gain a few dollars, you're still risking some kind of money rather than jumping in head first, risking hundreds of dollars with the minis, right? One of the best things about trading with such a small account is when you take losses and you realize how much more they could have been with a large account. So let's say on the micros, you take a $70 loss, right? That's like 14 points on the SPOOs. On the micros. So you take a 14-point loss, something happened, something bad happened, and then you realize that 14-point loss could have been on the minis, and you multiply that $70 loss by 10. Now you're at a $700 loss on the minis. What's harder to come back from, a $70 loss or a $700 loss? A $700 loss can weigh super heavily on your psychology or mindset, and the next day you won't even be that motivated to go back and fight for that money in the markets. You won't be able to really see your issues and review your journal effectively, see where you went wrong, and really come back the next day. I'm talking about beginners. I know a lot of seasoned people would have no problem with that. It happens. You do take losses. Things happen. Not every single trader has green days all throughout the year. But if you're starting out, let's say it's your first live day and you lose $700, how motivated will you be the next day to be able to pick yourself back up and really learn from those mistakes effectively rather than making another $700 lost day? Instead, micros, boom, $70 loss. No problem. What did I do wrong? How can I come back tomorrow? It's only $70 compared to times 10. Now, that's the ability that this small account gives you and the power that the micros really give you to come back from losing days. That's a crazy psychology lesson that has just been made available May of this year thanks to the micros. The micros are a godsend by the futures community because they really let traders take small loss and learn how to trade the futures market without breaking the bank. So to conclude, you can start trading futures with just a $100 account, just manage that risk, be disciplined, and grow from there. There's no reason to throw $1,000 into this account and hope for the best without you actually knowing what you need to know. Because taking futures education is one thing, but it's actually learning from the markets that makes you a real trader. And dipping your toes into an actual live environment with the micros is a game changer. So it's Victor from TRADEPRO Academy. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I just taught you how to trade with $100 and scale up from there, the power of the micro. If you enjoyed this video, drop a like, a comment, and ring that little bell to notify you when we do go live every single morning. Take care, Trade Pros.